A fresh doping scandal has hit the world of athletics. A UK-based newspaper is in possession of an IAAF database that indicates high level of doping in the blood samples of thousands of athletes. A database consisting of 12,000 blood samples from 5,000 athletes revealed extraordinary levels of doping. The data was kept at the International Association of Athletics Federation's Monaco headquarters. According to this data, one-third of the medals awarded to athletes at top-level endurance events, Olympic Games and World Championships were won by athletes who have recorded suspiciously high levels of drugs. In fact, the authorities, though, have failed to take any action. The World Anti-Doping Agency said that they were alarmed by the allegations and will look into them. WADA President Sir Craig Reedy said that, and I quote, WADA is very disturbed by these new allegations that have been raised, which will once again shake the foundation of clean athletes worldwide. 10 medals at London 2012 were won by athletes who have dubious test results, while star names such as Mo Farah and Usain Bolt have emerged as clean with no abnormal results.
It's questionable, and whether you can impose a sanction based upon the data. Well, you've got to, at one point, the IOC had a rule that you had to solve all problems relating to the previous games before the opening of the next, so that it didn't go on and on.
Abhinav Bindra is now joining us with his perspective on the explosive details that are coming in. Abhinav, the Sunday Times has reported, and it has rocked the sporting fraternity. In fact, this report of 12,000 abnormal blood samples hidden in the IAAF offices. As a sportsperson yourself, do you feel cheated?
Yeah, I think shooting is a sport in general. I can only speak for shooting, and I think shooting is lucky to be relatively free of the menace of doping. We are fortunate in that respect. But when such reports come out in any sport, it is obviously very, very disturbing. I think we all fight for clean sport, and we, work our, dedicate our entire lives to honestly work towards being the best that we can be.
Yes.
And then when things like this crop up, where there is an organized system of doping, I think it is extremely distressing and very unfortunate.
So, Abhinav, what would you as a sportsperson want authorities like WADA and IAAF to do now?
Well, the fight against doping, if you really study it, it is not very easy. I think to fight, I think end of the day the buck stops at the athletes, and it really is their integrity which comes into question. The World Anti-Doping Agency obviously is trying its best, but it obviously has to be more proactive. I think apart from blood doping, I think the biggest factor is when athletes consume banned substances which presently are in a test phase or which are not in the market. So I think the World Anti-Doping Agency is behind the system when it comes to that. I don't really know the solution. I guess more money would need to be pumped into research so that such substances are also included into the prohibited list. Having said that, all urine samples are now stored for 10 years. So there is obviously that factor where your sample can be tested in the next 10 years, and if some substance comes into the market which is banned and performance enhancing, then the athlete would be stripped from their medal. So obviously, I think WADA can be more proactive, or more proactive towards research, but obviously that would require huge resources available to them.
Right, Abhinav, I request you to stay on with us. Let me now go across to our correspondent Radhika Tonga. Radhika, WADA is in the know of this. Of course, it's been published in a newspaper. So what are the immediate steps that WADA is likely to take?
Seema, as far as WADA is concerned, they've made it very clear that any athlete, unless proven guilty, they will not take any action against them. As far as these reports are concerned, they basically deal with the International Athletics Federation, and they have said that they are sure that they will look at the matter and they will deal with it. It is all about clean sports, and they are not going to let cheated, athletes who've cheated the system get away. But as far as WADA is concerned, they've said that these are just reports. They are very disturbing reports, they've said very clearly. But till some sort of concrete, proof comes out in front of them, they will not take any action. That is clear from the side of WADA as well as the IAAF.
All right, let me go back to Abhinav. Abhinav, you had earlier said that at the end of the day, it is the athlete on whom the onus rests to keep himself or herself clean. So what advice today would you like to give to the younger lot as to what precautions they should be taking to stay away from any of these dubious drugs?
Well, I think one has to be very aware of what substances are allowed and what substances are prohibited. I think it is a matter of education, and it is up to all national anti-doping agencies, which are the respective NADAs of the different countries, to actually be extremely proactive and train their athletes and educate their athletes in what substances that can be consumed and what substances are prohibited.
Right.
So it is a matter of education. It is also the responsibilities of the NADAs, the big responsibilities of the NADAs to be proactive in to set up an educational program. But yeah, having said that, personally, if I have to take any medication for any reason, I am very, very careful on what I have to take, and I check it not once, but I always double check it. If the substance is allowed or if the substance is prohibited,
right.
And then follow a line of treatment if necessary in that respect. If you are ill or something like that, if you go to a doctor, you must, the athlete must first tell the doctor that he or she is an athlete and is bound with the World Anti-Doping Regulations, and to make the doctor aware of what is allowed and what is not allowed. I think with the internet, all informations are quite easily available online. So that definitely makes things much, much easier. Having said that, I think the whole aspect of sports medicine in our country is quite weak. We hardly have any top-notch sports medicine doctors where athletes can consult. So that is also an aspect where, as a country in India, we lack in those resources. So, so it's a little bit challenging for the athlete, but end of the day, the buck stops at the athlete.
Yes.
And it is up to the athlete to be responsible for what he or she consumes.
Abhinav, you take responsibility for yourself, and I'm sure there are many other sportspersons like you who take that precaution. But in the past, there have been names like Ben Johnson, Marion Jones and Lance Armstrong who've been found guilty of doping. Does such big names, when they feature into fall into such dubious distinction, does it shake the very foundation of sport?
I think it's a complete disaster. I think it's a complete disaster for the sport. It's a complete disaster for the fans and sport in general. Sport is all about integrity, honesty, hard work, determination. And when anything like that, doping, betting, match fixing, anything of those aspects come into play, it is extremely, extremely distressing. I think it is extremely bad for the sport. It kills the sport, and all these things have to be the organizations responsible. All the different organizations responsible must be proactive in educating young athletes, junior athletes, just starting out sport.
Okay.
The education on all these aspects must start at a very, very basic level, not just at the elite level.
Self-education, very important. Abhinav Bindra, many thanks for speaking with India Today. Let me go back to Radhika Tongar for more. Radhika, if I'm getting the story correctly, the IAAF's own database has been used by the Sunday Times here, and these allegations have then been made. So is it also putting a big question mark on what IAAF is doing?
Absolutely, Maha. If you see, this is a database which spans almost over 10 years, and before the Sunday Times went ahead and published this report, which was given to them by a whistleblower, the IAAF tried their best to get an injunction and say that they had obtained the report illegally and should not be allowed to publish it. So obviously these are results of prominent athletes. There are as many as 12,000 blood samples, out of which 800 of them are said to be questionable. Over 50 of them having won medals at the London Olympics, World Championships, various other big events. So obviously the IAAF had these samples at their own headquarters. These samples have been tested and they show abnormal results, so high level of doping as far as these blood tests are concerned. The IAAF not having taken any action, that is also something they will have to answer. WADA obviously taking up this cause. They are saying they will set up an inquiry, look into the entire matter. But yes, having had these results for 10 years and not taking any action is also a big thing.
Absolutely shocking, in fact, so to speak, and the very faith that the spectators have in sport gets shaken by such allegations. Many thanks, Radhika, for joining us with those details.